Jim Jones was broadcast in addition to being cheated on. He was seated in court like a king one moment. Camron then hit the play button on a USB, and that was it. Chrissy with another person in a hotel room wearing a sweatshirt and heels captured on camera muttering the lines while giggling. Jim is still unsure. Let him continue to be foolish. Have you ever witnessed a man's heart depart from his body? Jim did not blink, speak, or breathe. He simply gazed at the TV as if it were his sanity's funeral. Mama was silent in the courtroom. Jones froze. Camron grinned as if he had been waiting 10 years for this. This leak wasn't accidental. This was a powerful and poignant performance. Chrissy was also aware that the camera was rolling. We now want to know how many more clips Kim has. Was this a long-term scam or love? Additionally, how do you rebuild after everyone witnessed your life fall apart in 4K? Jim Jones won't be returning after this, so fasten your seatbelt. Jim Jones was curled in a courtroom chair with his hands shaking and his spirit half out of his body at the end of it, which began with a USB. The video wasn't grainy. She didn't have a maybe a moment. The footage was clear, sharp, time-stamped, and appeared to have been shot by someone who knew it would eventually be used in court. Chrissy outside the Moraine Hotel in Soho at 9:13 p.m. Pulling a hoodie over her head, looking as if the city was seeing her breathing from side to side. Additionally, it was not Jim who opened the door. There was Reggie in that suite. Fans began speculating about the name months ago. The same individual connected to a jail call that was muffled. Chrissy claimed that the person was merely a friend, but this was an HD film of complete treachery, not friendship. And you could sense the energy change as soon as Camron gave the court clerk that USB. Jim sat up taller as the room grew frigid, as if he already knew something deep inside, but realizing are two distinct types of pain. Because Chrissy turned back toward the hallway and whispered into her phone as soon as she entered that hotel room. Jim still thinks I'm at my cousin's. He's so easy. The courtroom broke, not aloud, not like a man who had been waiting 10 years for karma to cash the check. Cam reclined back in his chair with tension and sound. Jim sat as if his bones had melted. Silence, no utterance, no eruption. Breathing slowly while wearing glasses, then taking a rapid breath and a collapse. The courtroom exploded, with one hand on his chest and one arm hanging over the chair. EMTs were called, and bailiffs hurried in. Chrissy remained still, as if she were witnessing a situation she had seen 100 times before. Cam didn't blink, flinch, or move. Additionally, that was only the clip's opening 37 seconds because of what happened next. At that point, the falsehood, silence, and a ride-or-die narrative that they had created for reality TV were exposed. The video cuts to the interior of the room. There's wine. A playlist reverberating from the speaker, two glasses slowly seductive purposeful. Additionally, Chrissy is chuckling softly. She's stating, "This is where I breathe with you. I don't feel like I'm suffocating in someone else's life." Jim sat on 3 last year, so the phrase struck like a ton of bricks. Chrissy has been referred to on various podcasts as his oxygen on day one and the reason I survived, and now he is hearing her state that she felt dead inside of him. According to insiders, Chrissy knew about the camera. A buddy of Reggie's owned the sweep and always kept a record for protection. However, Chrissy was surprised to learn that Camron would ultimately possess that video. It's still unclear how he obtained it, but some claim Cam had someone working for him. Others think that once Chrissy abandoned him last month, Reggie lost it. However, Camron ultimately found the one. Something that no one believed to be evidence. It wasn't just any proof either. According to court filings, Cam filed the USB as part of a defamation countersuit against Jim, alleging that Jim attempted to tarnish his name. It was unquestionably scandalous and emotionally devastating. Legal quarrel or not, this was about retaliation, not the court. At a VH1 production meeting back in 2022. He didn't just serve it cold either, Cam. Since Mama Jones was in court, he served it in front of Jim's mother. When Jim hit the ground, she quickly got up to ensure his safety. Believed she was going to attack Chrissy. Before being escorted out, she said, "You lied to my son, you used him." All right, I saw her pacing the sidewalk while shouting into her phone. I told Jim day one that woman would ruin him, which is why I never trusted her." Meanwhile inside, the judge had to pause the trial for a full hour as EMTs checked Jim's vitals and confirmed he hadn't had a heart episode, just a breakdown brought on by shock. The internet blew up in a matter of seconds. Chrissy hotel clip: Camron exposed Jim Jones collapse, all trending within 20 minutes of the leak, and the meme's ruthless one showed Jim's face on a mattress with a caption, "Bro, got folded like the sheets Chrissy left in that hotel." Another had Camron smiling like Thanos holding the last Infinity Stone, the USB, but this wasn't just a Twitter roast session, because as the court resumed and the full 4-minute clip was played, the DA paused the trial again and pulled the judge aside. Why? Because the footage wasn't just evidence of infidelity, it allegedly revealed possible obstruction of justice. See, the court was already investigating Chrissy over a sealed charity fraud case, and in the hotel clip she references, "Reggie helped me clean that mess up. I told them it was a donation." Translation: new charges might be coming. And now what started as a reality TV heartbreak has become a potential federal case, and Cam, he wasn't done, because just as the judge called for recess, Cam stood up, looked directly at Jim, and said, "I told you she wasn't loyal, I just gave you what you needed to heal." Jim didn't respond, didn't move, just stared ahead like the whole world had turned into static. And Chrissy, she leaned over to her attorney and whispered something. According to a courtroom lip reader sitting 3 rows behind her, she said, "Tell the judge I was drunk." That clip's out of context, girl. It was 4K multi-angle with audio, but we're just scratching the surface, because when court resumes next week, Cam's legal team says they're submitting 2 more clips and a leaked voicemail from Chrissy to Mona Scott, and if even half of what's rumored on that call is true, it won't just be Jim Jones who loses everything, it'll be the entire VH1 franchise that goes up in flames. The courtroom was still buzzing when recess ended, but nobody was ready for what came next, because just as everyone was catching their breath from the hotel tape, Cameron's lawyer stood up and said 7 words that froze the judge mid-sip: "We have additional footage and an audio file." You could hear the whispers ripple through the crowd like a tsunami of suspicion. Chrissy turned pale. Jim didn't even look up, and Mama Jones, she had to be physically restrained from walking back into the courtroom. The judge leaned forward and asked for clarification. Cam's lawyer, calm, cold, surgical: "This is a voicemail left by Miss Lannon on Mona Scott Young's phone 3 weeks before the tape was recorded. Suddenly, this wasn't just a cheating scandal, this was about to become a franchise-ending conspiracy." The clerk played the voicemail, and within 10 seconds, jaws dropped. Chrissy's voice crystal clear: "Mona, I told you, if Jim finds out, the whole season's ruined. Cam can't know either, he'll use it. I need you to handle that room footage. Reggie swore it was wiped. You promised. Handle the footage. Tell Mona to bury it and call it season ruining. This was a smoking gun inside a nuclear bomb." The judge paused the audio. Chrissy's lawyer stood up, frantic, objecting, but it was too late. The court had heard enough, and Cam, he wasn't even smiling anymore, he was locked in, because that voicemail didn't just prove Chrissy cheated, it proved she knew she'd get caught and tried to erase it with help from the top. That meant cover-up, that meant manipulation, and possibly interference in an ongoing investigation. At this point, even the bailiffs looked shook. Jim finally lifted his head, his eyes hollow, staring directly at Chrissy like he didn't recognize her anymore, like the woman he bought rings for, cried over on red carpets, thought producers to defend never even existed. And then the second tape started. This one wasn't from the hotel, it was from inside a trailer on the set of Love and Hip Hop New York, recorded months earlier, secretly leaked from an unknown crew member. The clip showed Chrissy talking to Yandy behind the scenes during what was supposed to be a down day, but there was nothing casual about this conversation. Chrissy said, "I'm not dumb, I know Jim's loyal, but loyalty don't fix bored. Reggie makes me feel something, and Mona knows if this leaks, I'm out." Yandy's reply, "Girl, you playing with fire, you know Kim hates him, you get caught, it's not just a scandal, it's war." That clip hit different, because the audience wasn't just watching infidelity anymore, they were watching strategy. Like the whole Chrissy and Jim romance was a calculated brand, not a real bond. And worse, it exposed Mona, because if producers knew about this months ago and still filmed the engagement special, still pushed the forever love angle, then what else had they faked? By now, social media was in full meltdown. Blogs were on fire, fans were switching sides in real time. Chrissy's name was trending next to liability setup queen and Judith in Louboutins, and Mama Jones, she finally got past security. She stormed into the hallway outside court, TMZ cameras waiting, and screamed, "That woman ruined my son's life, she's a snake, and I want VH1 to burn with her." Security tried to stop her, but the damage was done. The footage went viral in minutes. One TikTok even stitched the hotel clip with Mama Jones's rant and captioned it, "When your mom was right the whole time." But back in court, things got darker. because after the audio in the second clip played, Cam's lawyer stood again, this time holding a printed email, a screenshot, a paper trail. He handed it to the judge and said, "This is an email sent from Chrissy's account requesting footage deletion from a private server tied to Mona Scott's media cloud." The room went silent again. The judge read the email. Chrissy's hands started to shake. In it she allegedly wrote, "I need that room wiped by Monday. If it gets out, Jim won't recover, neither will the show. Tell Reggie to keep his mouth shut now." It was beyond cheating. This was manipulation. This was a media hit job gone wrong. Jim stood up. He was trembling. He looked at Chrissy and asked one question, just one. "Was any of it real?" And Chrissy, shaking, lips quivering, said nothing. She just looked down. That silence, it was louder than any confession, because if she had said yes, maybe there'd be something left, but that silence, that was the answer. Camron didn't flinch. He'd already won. This wasn't just revenge, this was surgical dismantling. The judge paused proceedings again, not because of chaos, but because VH1's legal team suddenly requested to address the court. That's right, the network was now involved. Their representative, a man in a gray suit, sweating through his collar, stated, "We believe some of this footage was unlawfully obtained, and its release may violate confidentiality clauses within existing contracts." Translation: they were panicking because Cam had blown up their golden couple, exposed producer manipulation, and revealed the entire love story was a ticking time bomb. But the judge wasn't interested in saving TV deals. He looked straight at Chrissy and asked, "Did you attempt to interfere with this court's investigation through media suppression or misdirection?" Chrissy stuttered. Her lawyer objected. The judge pressed on, and that's when her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was scared, but scared of what? Of losing Jim, of being exposed, off watching the lie unravel. Too late now, because the court had one more surprise. A text log from Reggie leaked from a burner phone. Cam's team subpoenaed in it. Reggie wrote to a friend, "She played me too, said she'd leave him now, I'm the villain, and Kim got the drop. I should have dropped the rest of the clips. She begged me not to." Yes, the rest, which meant there were more. By the end of the day, Jim walked out of that courtroom looking like a ghost. No Chrissy beside him, no Mona, no security, just him, one man alone, with the weight of a love that never existed, and a betrayal the whole world just watched live outside. A reporter asked Cam one final question. "Do you think Jim deserved this?" Cam looked into the lens and said, "No, but sometimes the truth doesn't care who it breaks." And with that he walked away, because in this game of love, loyalty, and cameras, only one man left the courtroom undefeated. And the worst part, it's not even over. The next morning the footage had already hit every screen in America. Clips were stitched, remixed, slowed down, edited with sad music, and turned into memes faster than Chrissy could reach for her publicist. Jim Jones's face, that frozen look of betrayal, had become a symbol not just of heartbreak, but humiliation. And while fans were divided online, one thing was clear: nobody was buying the misunderstanding angle anymore. This wasn't a rumor gone wrong, this was a whole operation exposed. People were pulling up old interviews, tweets, scenes from earlier seasons, rewatching the love story with brand new eyes, and catching the red flags in HD. One clip even resurfaced, where Mama Jones told Chrissy to her face, "You don't love my son, you love the camera." And now that quote was on t-shirts. But the court wasn't done, not even close, because while the emotional devastation was loud, the legal mess was louder. VH1's internal emails were suddenly subpoenaed after Cameron's legal team filed an emergency motion. Why? Because Reggie, the man Chrissy was sneaking off with, used to work in post-production, and guess who signed off on video edits for the Chrissy and Jim spin-off?